Hey, what's up? I am Rob Judge, and I am the co-creator of Seductive Storytelling. This is a program that Bobby Rio and I put together that teaches guys how to use stories from their personal life, as well as just pull together different things in an environment. If you're out at a bar and you meet a girl and you see something with the bartender or something going on that you find interesting, you're able to convey that in an attractive way that pushes the interaction forward, that moves the interaction beyond just we're having this polite conversation into sort of a flirty, sort of flirtatious, fun, attractive vibe that makes the girl realize, hey, I like this guy. Hey, I want to go home with this guy. Hey, I want this guy to be my boyfriend. This guy's entertaining. This guy's funny. This guy really keeps, I don't know what this guy's going to say next, but I kind of like it. So that's why storytelling is so important. And one aspect that I get asked all the time, almost every guy I've ever coached has struggled with, and storytelling is a great tool to alleviate this problem, is how to sexualize the vibe. And what I mean when I say sexualize the vibe is, if you've ever been out with a girl, and probably a lot of guys who have had some experience with women understand what I'm talking about, where you're on a date or you meet a girl at a bar and you guys are really just vibing, you have this sort of flirtatious vibe going, and then you guys start talking about sex very openly, very just sort of bluntly and flirtatiously. It's a very fun conversation, and it's definitely a place where I think every guy who's watching wants to be with attractive women, or that attractive woman that you've had your eye on. You definitely want to be in that sort of having that conversation, that fun conversation where you're just vibing about sex. And it's just sort of open season. It's not a G-rated conversation. It's not a PG-rated conversation. It's an R-rated, or sometimes even an NC-17 or a triple X-rated conversation. That's really what makes dating a lot of fun, is to really open up, not just emotionally talking about, childhood stories, but also to open up sexually as well. All right, so now I'm sure a lot of guys are wondering, all right, so how does that apply to storytelling? Yeah, I agree with you, Rob. We all like to get to that sort of establish that sexual vibe, but how does storytelling accomplish that? And that's a great question. And while you're right, there are several ways to establish a sexual vibe. Storytelling is one of my favorite ways to do it because there is such a low risk of rejection. The thing that a lot of guys get wrong when they try to establish a sexual vibe is that they do too much too fast. I've read text transcripts, I've watched guys talk to girls out at bars or nightclubs, and a lot of the times when guys come off as creepy or weird or just that guy, it's because they escalated the vibe too quickly. They went from, a G-rated conversation, oh, so what are you doing out tonight, how are you doing, blah, 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 to, I want to fuck you in the ass. And that's definitely not the way you want to go about it. You want it to be, it's an analogy I use a lot, you want it to be like a volume knob, on a stereo. You don't want to just yank that volume knob up, you want to do it very slowly. That's something, a difference between men and women. As guys, we can just be turned on like that. We see a hot girl, she's naked, holy shit, yeah, I'm horny, I want to go have sex with her. But with a woman, it takes it takes more time, and it takes more, emotions. She needs to just feel more within herself before she's going to allow herself to get to that place where you can get almost instantaneously. So that's very important to keep in mind in all aspects of interacting with women, but especially when it comes to storytelling. So what I want to do now is I want to just launch right into an example, give you a story that I might use if I was out with a woman, a story that I actually have used with a lot of women that has really helped me sexualize the vibe when I was in a situation where it was, a bar or a lounge or a restaurant. It was a situation where I didn't really want to necessarily make a very bold move. I wanted to do it a little bit more sort of under the radar, a little bit more strategic, a little bit more surgical, if you will. And what I would do is I would invite a girl out, a lot of times on a first or second date or whatever, and I would invite her to a lounge or a bar that would have hookah. And now when I was back in Vegas, a lot of the bars and lounges had hookah. If you're not familiar with what hookah is, it's also called shishka. It's like a Middle Eastern sort of pipe that you smoke. And a lot of people just kind of do it casually. I'm not a smoker, but every once in a while, smoking hookah is kind of nice, makes you a little lightheaded, especially when you're drinking. It's a nice sort of addition to and it's a nice sort of first or second date activity. So that's, if you haven't tried hookah and you're open to it, you should definitely check it out. But point of the story is, I like the hookah because it was a great entry point for a story that I would use to not only create a sexualized vibe, but also allow me to start getting physical with a girl and make a move on her in a way that wasn't creepy, that was very in line with her comfort level. So what I would do is we would sit down, we would order our drinks, and as we're sitting there, the waitresses at whatever bar or lounge we'd be at, they'd be walking around with their little trays, and they would have the hookah pipes on them, and I would point it out, as if I didn't know this, which obviously I did, but this was a big revelation to me. I'd say, oh wow, look at that, they have hookah here. I love hookah. It brings back such fond memories of like middle school, when I first discovered women, and actually when I first kissed a girl, or let me rephrase that, when I first almost kissed a girl. And what I'm doing there is, first of all, I'm using the hookah as an entry point. It grounds my story. It makes it relevant to something in the environment. So it's not like I'm just spitting off pre-recited stories, even if I am. It makes it seem like it's spontaneous. And then secondly, what I'm doing there is I'm creating a hook. I'm making her curious to hear more. And the hook in that short little 2 or 3 sentences that I just said to introduce my story would be where I said, where I first discovered girls and I started, I first started kissing girls, or let me rephrase that, almost kissed a girl. So something like that, where basically the hook is the almost kiss. Because every time I've said it to a girl, every time I've used this story, I always see the same reaction. When I say the almost kiss, she sort of perks up a little bit. She's like, what do you mean an almost kiss? And that's the reaction you want. That's what you want a hook of a story to accomplish, because now she's giving you the floor to sort of explain more, to tell your story. So now I have the floor for 2 or 3 minutes to tell my story about this almost kiss and how it relates to the hookah. So the story I would tell would be very simple. It's just, so I say, me and my buddies, when we were growing up, it's probably hard to believe, I haven't always been this gangster thug that you see now. I was actually once afraid of women. And I had a group of friends who were also gangster thugs in training, but they were also afraid of women. And it wasn't so much that we didn't like women, we certainly did. We had been studying women meticulously through someone's dad's stolen Playboy collection. But once we got close to a woman, once we started talking to the females in our classes and our classmates and girls we knew, it was really weird. Our palms got sweaty, vomit on our shirt, mom spaghetti, all that stuff that Eminem raps about in that song. So it was a difficult time for me and my buddies. We had to really figure out a way to sort of bridge this gap between liking women and actually getting within like a 3-foot radius of them. So what we just kind of figured out was, we were in 7th grade, and everyone's kind of curious about drinking and smoking then. So someone stole a pack of cigarettes from someone's dad, probably the same dad we stole the Playboys from. This dad is probably still, enraged, so that he's busy Playboys and cigarettes. But we took this pack of cigarettes to the sump. I don't know if you had a place like this when you were growing up, but the sump was this sort of enclosed area. It was a place they weren't supposed to go, but all like the older kids went to do bad stuff, to have sex, to drink, do drugs, all that stuff. But we were going there for kind of like a PG-13 rated reason. We wanted to go and try smoking for the first time, and of course we invited girls to join us. And this made it very easy for us to talk to women, or at the very least we had a reason for them to be there and for us to get close to them, because what we would do is we would take the first hit of the cigarette, and then we would get close to a girl and we would blow smoke in the girl's mouth, and she would feel like what it was like to smoke for the first time, or at least like we made this whole story that you couldn't smoke a cigarette directly because you'll cough and it'll burn your lungs, that we should take the first drag of the cigarette and then blow it into whatever. We had this whole fantastical sort of story that we told, which I'm not going to bore you with now, but we had a good reason to convince these women that we had to, blow the smoke into their mouth. So I watched my buddies, and all of them were having great success with this. My first friend went, blew the smoke to a girl's mouth, they got close, and then they kissed. My next friend went, blew the smoke to a girl's mouth, I'm watching this, and finally it was my turn. I was so excited. I was going to have my first kiss, and it was with this girl that I had a huge crush on, this girl Crystal. So she came up to me, she was like so close to me, my hands were like, I was like, oh, but I was like, oh, be cool. So I drag a cigarette, I lean over, she's leaning over, right as I'm about to blow the smoke into her mouth, like we are literally centimeters apart, all of a sudden I hear, "Hey you kids, get out of there!" And it's this fucking, I swear to Christ, this guy's name is fucking Officer Wiener. I got cock blocked by a guy named Officer Wiener. So Officer Wiener was this local cop who his beat was like the local high school kids and patrolling the summer. So right as I was about to kiss, this girl I had a crush on and have my first kiss for the first time, fucking Officer Wiener came in and just completely shut the whole operation down. But, it's kind of interesting though, because what I realized when I finally did get my first kiss is that moment right before you kiss, like that anticipation, that sort of nervousness you feel in the gut of your stomach and like just like the pit of your stomach, that is actually sometimes even better than the actual kiss itself. Like, here, let me show you. Or here, let's do it. And then a lot of times I would order a hookah and I would say, look, I'm not going to kiss you, I promise. Not because Officer Wiener is going to stop me, because I'm a gentleman, I think we should have a proper courtship before we kiss, but I wanted to show you what I'm talking about. And a lot of the times we would get the hookah and I would do exactly that. I would take a drag of it, almost like the 7th grade me in the story did, and I would blow it right into her mouth, and I would not let her kiss me. A lot of times, or not a lot, but I would say maybe half the time, a girl would try to kiss me, because that feeling that you get, and you probably know what I'm talking about, even as I was telling that story, that sort of like anticipation when you're really close to someone you like for the first time and your faces are inches apart. A lot of the times the tension is so high, you want to break the tension by kissing them. And a lot of times I would push back, and whatever, that's a whole different program about sexual tension and that kind of thing. But the point is, the way I would use the story is I would describe a very abstract feeling in a way that was understandable. Like, if I just started talking about this idea that like when you get close to someone, blah 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 blah, and it's just this feeling you get, I'd just be that weird sort of airy fairy new age guy. I'd be like the weird guy, and it wouldn't be attractive, it wouldn't be sexual, it wouldn't be interesting. But because I ground it to the story, and there's a couple different elements in that story that also sort of work that make it very easy to listen to and make it attractive. One of them is, tying in the pop culture references, the Eminem song, because that also kind of grounds it in the time period. Right around that song came out was when I was in high school. So, so the idea that you want to ground it in some pop culture. Also, even if you look at the structure of that story, it's interesting because of the fact that I don't necessarily get what I want. I don't get what the character obviously being me, the protagonist in that story is me, and the protagonist is, my goal in that story is to get a first kiss, is to get over my fear of women, and that's not what I got because of the fact that Officer Wiener came in and whatever, cock-blocked me, but I got something else, and what I got is actually better, and it's better because it gave me knowledge and awareness of something that I didn't realize before. And that's sort of the kernel of any good story, but with this idea, with creating a sexualized vibe or a sexualized story, the reason this works so well is because it very neatly, grounds from something in the environment. I take it back to something in my past, and then we go back out into whatever like I used to ground that story, and now the hookah now has a new meaning between this relationship with me and this woman. Because I told the story in a certain way, this hookah now has taken on a new life in this on this date with me and this girl. And like I said, a lot of the time, what I would do is I would order the hookah. A lot of times I would tell that story as the hookah was coming back. And when the hookah would finally come, I'd be like, all right, I need to show you how this almost kiss went down. And because a lot of times the girl was into the story at that point, and I would do the almost kiss to her. And that was a great way to escalate physically, where she wanted me to escalate physically, rather than it be this awkward thing where we're sitting across a pub table with each other, or we're sitting at a table in a lounge, and I'm trying to think of some way to sort of bridge this physical gap. It's because I told the story and grounded it in something that can bring us together. Now we both have a reason to escalate the vibe. So that's just one way that you can use storytelling to sexualize a vibe, and that's just one of many. And like I said, storytelling is one of my favorite ways to create that sexual vibe with women because it really respects her comfort level, and it allows you to kind of gauge where her temperature's at, in terms of her how comfortable she is with you sexually escalating. If I start telling that story and I start, talking about the almost kiss and whatever, and I can see she's like getting on edge and it's never happened, but if that ever happened, if I was talking about something more sexually explicit and I can see she's getting uncomfortable, I know, hey, maybe I need to sort of tone it back a little bit to respect her comfort level so that I don't come off creepy or I don't do something that's going to destroy the vibe altogether. So that's why, storytelling is just such a great tool, and especially when you're handling something as delicate as sexual escalation. So I hope this video helped. I hope this is something that you picked up some stuff from this you can use. And if you want to learn more, definitely check out the Seductive Storytelling course, because not only do I talk extensively about using storytelling to sexualize the vibe, but you can use storytelling in really almost every aspect of a date, a seduction, even with your girlfriend. It's just an absolute great skill to have, and I highly recommend you check it out.